we will defend.
Steve Witherden, after which I will call Steve Darling. Steve Witherden.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. President Trump's threats to Greenland must be taken very seriously. Given Trump's banditry in Venezuela, I fear the Prime Minister's hopes of calm discussion may fall on deaf ears. Will the government stand firm with our European allies and the people of Greenland in opposing rampant American territorial expansionism?
Yes. Well, we work closely with our European allies. That's exactly why I have discussions with the Danish Foreign Minister today. It's also why I've had discussions with the US Secretary of State today, and why we will have further discussions, and why the Prime Minister has had discussions with both European leaders and also President Trump. But I would say to him that the role of the government is to pursue the UK's interests in a calm, robust and hard-headed way, which is about getting results and also ensuring that we build the partnerships, including with the US and including with Europe, that make all of us stronger together.
Steve Darling.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Trump and Putin both respect strength. Neither of them respect international law. In light of that, I'd like to welcome the work being undertaken by the Prime Minister and under the leaders from Canada and Europe around the coalition of the willing. The Secretary of State has already outlined what we're doing around strengthening our and neighbours' capabilities, but can you explain how the coalition of the willing will become the coalition of the capable to make us stronger?
Yeah. Well, I thank him for his support for the coalition of the willing. He will know that the UK and France set out a declaration of intent. There is further work still underway on the security guarantees. I would caution him against what I hope he did not mean as equivalence around the US and Russia, because obviously it is Russia that imposes the significant threat to Ukraine and to the whole of Europe, and the US is a long-standing and close ally defending security in Europe.
Josh Fenton-Glynn.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I'd like to thank the Secretary of State for the strong statement she's made today. I've been disappointed to hear so much politicisation of a national security issue in this House, but can the Secretary of State confirm to me that just as the future of Ukraine should be determined by Ukrainians, the future of Denmark should be determined, of Greenland should be determined by the Denmark and Greenlanders?
Well, my honourable friend is exactly right, that these principles of sovereignty and territorial integrity, it's underpinning around the UN Charter, but also around the rules that really underpin so many of our alliances, including the NATO alliance. At its heart is the very simple principle that the future of Greenland is for the Greenlanders and the Danes alone.
Robert Adam.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I welcome the Secretary of State's statement, but can I ask her, with all sincerity, as per her statement, how she intends to have serious, constructive dialogue built on respect and rules with a man who wants to drop peace and go to war simply because he didn't win a prize?
Well, we have a long-standing NATO alliance, a long-standing partnership, not just with the US, but also with Western Europe. We continue to discuss with the US issues affecting peace around the world. For example, I would give him the example of Sudan, which I think has not had the level of international attention that it needs, but where the US are putting in considerable efforts to seek to get a ceasefire in Sudan, and the UK is working with not just the US but other members of the Quad in order to support a desperately needed ceasefire.
Annie.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And last week I was delighted to lead a debate on the very topic of the High North and Arctic security, highlighting that the UK, because of our geography, should be considered a frontline nation in the ongoing war with Vladimir Putin, and that we cannot afford to sleepwalk unprepared into a geopolitical High North and Arctic. Does she agree with me that as a frontline nation we must urgently increase public awareness of the threat we face and the effect that will have on our constituents? And will she discuss with the Defence Secretary and our allies the possibility of urgently increasing the capability of the Joint Expeditionary Force to defend both the UK and our High North allies, something I know will be welcomed in countries like Estonia, whom I visited at the start of the year?
Foreign Secretary.
I thank the honourable member for his question. One of the things that by increasing our presence in the north of Norway, increasing the number of Marines from 1,000 to 2,000 over the space of 3 years, that also helps support the Joint Expeditionary Force and is a crucial part of our cooperation across not just the Arctic but also the Baltic as well, and that work was welcomed both in Finland and Norway, where I was last week.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. President Trump has stated that he no longer feels an obligation to think purely of peace. He has threatened a trade war with the UK and Europe, and he has refused to rule out military force against Greenland. This shows that President Trump and his administration cannot be trusted. Will the government therefore consider a review into the UK's intelligence sharing with the US at this very dangerous and volatile time and until Trump is in power?
Let me just be really clear with the honourable member. Our Five Eyes intelligence and security partnership is vital and keeps us safe. It keeps us safe every single day of the week, every single day of the year. And that is vital. It's particularly close with the United States, but also with Canada, Australia and New Zealand as well. And our security depends on sustaining and continuing that Five Eyes partnership.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I thank the Foreign Secretary and the Prime Minister for the clarity they've given today on the future of Greenland. Does the Foreign